The alibi footage showed Marcus Tillman walking into a building that had been demolished 2.5 years before the night in question. The lobby, the elevator bank, the front desk, all of it gone since March 2019. In the footage, he's standing there at 9:14 p.m. on October 9th, 2021. He signs in at the front desk, he pushes the elevator button, he waits. Docket KYCR 2029-174. Jefferson County Circuit Court, Louisville, Kentucky. Camera serial number MX7714C. Decommissioned July 2018. And yet somehow it recorded a night in 2021. My name is Renee Calloway. I spent 16 years as a criminal defense attorney in Louisville, Kentucky bar number 387204. Armed robberies, homicides, federal drug cases, probation violations. I have been on the defense side of the table in this city long enough to have a parking spot at the courthouse and a coffee order that 2 different clerks know by heart. I have seen manufactured evidence. I have seen footage tampered with. I have seen forged signatures and fabricated receipts and witnesses who rehearsed their testimony so thoroughly they lost track of what was real. I know what a doctored timestamp looks like. The frame rate inconsistencies, the metadata mismatch, the artifact pattern that's just slightly wrong. This footage was not tampered with. That's the part I still can't explain. Before I get to the footage, let me tell you about the building. 2285 Meridian Boulevard was a residential apartment complex in the southwestern part of Louisville. 8 stories, about 90 units, managed by a company called Hargate Residential Services. It stood on that lot for approximately 30 years. The building was sold in 2018, the tenants were relocated, and the structure was demolished in early 2019 to make way for a parking expansion project associated with a nearby commercial development. Demolition permit DEM 29-030712. Filed February 28, 2019. Work completed March 7, 2019. There is a parking garage at that address now. 3 levels. About 400 spaces. The entrance sign reads, Meridian Park Parking, managed by Hargate Residential Services. That's a different company program managing a different asset at the same address. The name is the same, Hargate, because the same property management group pivoted from residential to commercial on that site. Entirely routine. Companies change what they manage. The lobby in the security footage is not a parking garage. It is the lobby of the building that was demolished 2.5 years before the footage was recorded. And my client walked through it at 9:14 p.m. on the night of an armed robbery 8 miles away. Marcus came to me 2 weeks after his arrest. He was charged with 1 count of armed robbery following an incident at a pharmacy on Linden Lane. A masked man, a displayed firearm, a cash drawer emptied in about 45 seconds. The responding officers canvassed the area. Marcus was identified through a combination of a partial plate from a witness and a cell phone ping that put his number in the area at the relevant time. The DA's office had a circumstantial case, not airtight, but solid. The lead detective was Frank Bremer, LMPD Property Crimes. 14 years on the job. Bremer was meticulous and unemotional. I'd crossed paths with him twice before in other matters. He said he was at his girlfriend Sonia Huff's apartment building all evening. He said they'd had dinner and watched a movie. He said he hadn't left until after 11 p.m. He said the building had security cameras at the entrance, and they would prove it. I've heard a lot of alibi claims. Most of them are partial. The camera was down, the neighbor doesn't remember, the receipt is from the wrong time of day. Every once in a while, you get a clean one. This one seemed clean. Marcus gave me the building address. 2285 Meridian Boulevard. I wrote it down, finished the intake interview, and sent a paralegal to request the security footage from the building management company. The footage arrived 2 days later on a USB drive, along with a cover letter from a property management company called Hargate Residential Services. I watched the footage that evening. The lobby was clean and well lit, marble effect floor, a reception desk at the back, 2 elevators to the right, a framed notice board on the wall to the left of the elevators. The camera angle was ceiling mounted, wide angle, slightly fish-eyed. At 9:14 p.m., Marcus Tillman walked in through the front door. He was wearing a dark jacket and carrying a small bag. He walked to the reception desk, signed something on a clipboard, nodded at the desk attendant, and moved to the elevators. The elevator door opened. He stepped in. At 10:58 p.m., he stepped back out of the elevator. Same jacket. He walked to the front door and exited. The robbery on Linden Lane had occurred at 10:30 p.m. The building was 8 miles away. He could not have left at 9:14, committed a robbery at 10:30, and returned to the elevator by 10:58. The footage was the alibi. Clean, time-stamped, showing the lobby of 2285 Meridian Boulevard on the night of October 9th, 2021. I told Marcus we had a strong alibi. Then I drove to 2285 Meridian Boulevard the next morning. The address exists. There is a structure at 2285 Meridian Boulevard. It's a parking garage. 3 levels, concrete, open-air sides, about 400 spaces. A small sign at the entrance reads, Meridian Park Parking, managed by Hargate Residential Services. The building in the footage, the marble lobby, the elevator bank, the reception desk is not there. It has not been there for years. I pulled out my phone and searched the address, property records, Google Maps historical imagery. A local news article from March 2019 about a residential building demolished to make way for a parking expansion project. Demolition permit DEM 29-0307112. Filed February 28, 2019. Work completed March 7, 2019. A residential apartment building at 2285 Meridian Boulevard had been standing on that lot until 2.5 years before the footage was recorded. I stood in the parking garage for a long moment. Then I drove back to the office and called the forensic video analyst I use for authentication work, a man named Vincent Rourke. I said, I have a clip I need you to look at. I need to know if it's been altered. Rourke came back to me within a week. His preliminary finding was that the footage showed no signs of digital manipulation. The compression artifacts were consistent with the recording device. The timestamp encoding was embedded in the original file structure, not appended. The video was, by every available forensic measure, an authentic recording. I said, the camera serial number is embedded in the metadata. Can you cross-reference it? He said he would. 2 days later, he called back. He said, the serial number in the metadata is MX7714C. That's a model from a Meridian brand commercial security system. I ran the serial against the manufacturer's decommissioned database. I said, and? He said, MX77-C was decommissioned in July 2018. It was registered to a building at 2285 Meridian Boulevard, Louisville, Kentucky. The registration was closed when the building was vacated prior to demolition. I said, so the camera was shut down in July 2018. He said, according to the manufacturer's records, yes. I said, and the footage was recorded in October 2021. He said, according to the timestamp, yes. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I don't have an explanation for that. I went back to the footage and watched it again. This time I paused on the lobby notice board, the framed board to the left of the elevator bank. The image was slightly soft at that distance, but the text was readable. Resident meeting, Thursday, October 9th, 7 p.m. Community Room B. October 9th, 2021. A resident meeting notice. posted in a building that had been demolished in March 2019, posted for an event scheduled for the night it was supposedly filmed. A building that no longer existed had posted a meeting notice for October 9th, 2021. And Marcus Tillman had walked past that notice board at 9:14 p.m. on that same night. I sat with that for a long time. A notice board in a demolished building had been updated for an event that hadn't happened yet in the building's lifetime. Whoever, whatever, had produced this footage had not just reconstructed the lobby. They had populated it with a date-specific, event-specific detail that made it impossible to argue the footage was archival. This wasn't old footage recycled from 2017. The notice board proved it was October 9th, 2021. It proved the building was present on October 9th, 2021. It proved something I could not explain. I called Sonia Huff. She answered on the third ring. Her voice was careful, the way people's voices get when they know a defense attorney is calling. I told her I was reviewing the alibi documentation and had a question about the building at 2285 Meridian. She said, "That's where I live." I said, "Can you describe the building for me?" She described a lobby, marble floors, a reception desk, 2 elevators, a notice board by the elevator bank. I said, "How long have you lived there?" She said, "About 3 years." 3 years. She had moved in, by her account, sometime in late 2018 or early 2019. I said, "Sonia, I drove past 2285 Meridian yesterday. There's a parking garage there." She was quiet. I said, "Not an apartment building, a parking structure." She said, "That can't be right." I said, "I pulled the demolition permit. The building was torn down in March 2019. A longer pause. She said, "I'm going to my window right now." I heard footsteps. A pause. Longer this time. She said, "That's not possible." I waited. She said, "I'm looking at the building." I asked her to take a photograph from her window and send it to me immediately. The photograph came through 4 minutes later. It showed a residential building exterior. Brick, approximately 8 stories, balconies on each floor. The address numbers above the entrance, 2285. I opened Google Maps on my second monitor and pulled the current satellite view of 2285 Meridian Boulevard. Parking garage, 3 levels, no residential structure. I refreshed the image, same result. I set the 2 images side by side and looked at them for a long time. I forwarded Sonia's photograph to Vincent Rourke and asked him to verify the EXIF data, the embedded metadata that shows when and where a digital photo was taken. He called back within an hour. He said, "The photograph was taken today. The GPS coordinates embedded in the image file correspond to 2285 Meridian Boulevard, Louisville, Kentucky." I said, "And what does the GPS currently show at those coordinates?" He said, "A parking garage. I'm looking at the property assessor's map right now." I said, "So the GPS coordinates are accurate, but what they show doesn't match what the current satellite imagery shows at those coordinates." He said, "That's what the data says." I said, "Vincent, what does that mean?" He said, "I don't know. I've never seen that." I kept the footage and Sonia's photograph in a separate folder and didn't show them to anyone else for 3 days. I needed to understand what I had before I decided what to do with it. What I had, as best I could reconstruct it, was this. A security camera recording from October 9th, 2021, showing a lobby that did not physically exist on that date. The camera that recorded it had been decommissioned in 2018. The building had been demolished in 2019. The footage was forensically authentic. Vincent Rourke had confirmed it. The footage showed a notice board with a date-specific announcement. And Sonia Huff, who claimed to live in that building, had sent me a photograph showing a building at that address that no satellite image confirmed. And Marcus Tillman, in that footage, had walked into the building at 9:14 p.m. and walked out at 10:58 p.m. on the night of the robbery. The alibi was impossible, and yet it was real. The footage was real. The authentication said so. The building it showed was gone, and I had to figure out what that meant for the man sitting in my client chair. I spoke to Rourke again on the fourth day. I asked him to go to 2285 Meridian in person and photograph the site. He called me from the parking garage an hour later. He described the concrete structure. He took photographs. He sent them immediately. The photographs showed a parking garage. I sent him Sonia's photograph. He said, "Where was this taken?" I said, "She says from her window at 2285 Meridian." He said, "That building doesn't exist at 2285 Meridian." I said, "I know." He said, "Do you want me to check again?" I said, "Yes." He called back 20 minutes later. He said, "I'm standing in the parking garage. I walked every level. It's a garage. There is no residential building." I said, "Can you check property databases from your phone? Not satellite, the legal property records." He was quiet for a moment while he searched. Then he said, "Renee, the Jefferson County Property Assessor's database lists 2285 Meridian Boulevard as a residential apartment building. Current status occupied, last assessed 2021. I said, "In the satellite view?" He said, "Parking garage." I made a decision. I was going to use the footage. The forensic authentication was clean. The timestamp matched the alibi timeline. My client could not be placed at the robbery if he was standing in that lobby at 9:14 p.m. I was a defense attorney. My job was to present the best available evidence in my client's defense. The footage was the best available evidence. I called Marcus and told him I was moving forward with the footage. I did not tell him about the demolition record. I did not tell him about the decommissioned camera serial number. I did not tell him about Sonia's photograph showing a building that didn't match the satellite imagery. I told him I had the footage and it was going to be submitted to the court. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Good." Just that. One word. Flat tone. Like a man who had been expecting good news. I filed the authentication report with the court and noticed the footage into evidence. The prosecution, when they received it, did not initially challenge its authenticity. ADA Beth Corley filed a motion to exclude it, arguing it could not be verified as originating from the alleged address. Judge Gerald Aston denied the exclusion and allowed the footage to be admitted. The jury saw Marcus Tillman walking into a lobby at 9:14 p.m. and walking out at 10:58 p.m. They saw a clock on the wall above the reception desk confirming the time. They saw a framed notice on the board that said October 9th. They acquitted him in 3 hours. 1 week after the acquittal, I was consolidating the Tillman case files before archiving. I found a photograph in the back of the accordion folder, printed on standard paper, no label, no source notation, no date stamp on the image itself. It showed the interior of the lobby at 2285 Meridian Boulevard. Not the footage, an actual printed photograph, taken from approximately the height of a standing person, showing the marble floor, the reception desk, the elevator bank, and the notice board on the left wall. The notice board read, "Resident Meeting, Thursday, Oct. 9th, 7 p.m., Community Room B. October 9th, 2021. I had not placed that photograph in the folder. I do not know who did. I do not know how anyone photographed the interior of a building that didn't exist, printed it, and put it in a case file that had been in my locked office. I called Vincent Rourke. I described the photograph. He said, "Send it to me." I said, "Vincent, the building was gone. The camera remembered every detail, including an event that was scheduled for the night it didn't exist." He didn't answer that. He was quiet on the phone for long enough that I thought the call had dropped. Then he said, "Send it to me." He did not say that's impossible. He did not say, "There has to be an explanation." He said, "Send it to me." And there was something in his voice that made me think he had already been waiting for that kind of photograph to surface, like a man who has been expecting a particular phone call and recognizes the number when it comes. I never heard back from him about the photograph. I called his office a week later. His assistant said he was away on a family matter. I called again the following month. Same answer. The photograph went into a separate envelope. I sealed it. I labeled it with the docket number and the date I found it. I put it in my personal file cabinet, not the case archive. The case archive went to storage in November 2021. The envelope stayed with me. I looked at it again in January 2022. I've looked at it probably 40 times since. Let me tell you what I know about the photograph. The image is of a lobby interior. It was taken by someone standing inside the building. The camera perspective is at approximately eye level for a person of average height, roughly 5.5 feet. The angle takes in the reception desk at the back, the elevator bank to the right, and the notice board to the left. The floor is marble effect laminate. The lighting is the same overhead fluorescent visible in the security footage. The reception desk has the same lamp on its corner. The elevator call button panel has the same brushed metal surround. Every detail matches the security footage. Every detail of a building that hasn't existed since March 7th, 2019. The notice board reads, "Resident meeting, Thursday, Oct. 9th, 7 p.m., Community Room B." That meeting was scheduled for October 9th, 2021, in a building that was demolished in 2019. Someone was inside that building in October 2021, standing at approximately eye level, holding a camera, pointing it at that notice board. Someone photographed the inside of a building that wasn't there, and then put the photograph in my case file. Marcus Tillman called my office once after the acquittal. He said, "Thank you." He didn't say anything else. I said, "Marcus, I need to ask you something about the building." He said, "I don't have anything to say about the building." I said, "Did you actually go there that night, or did someone give you the footage?" He said, "I told you what happened." I said, "The building doesn't exist." He said, "Then it's a miracle I have an alibi." I said, "Marcus," he said, "thank you for the defense, Miss Calloway." He hung up. I tried calling back. The number went to a generic voicemail. I left a message. I called again 3 days later. The number had been disconnected. I hired a private investigator. She spent 2 weeks on Marcus Tillman, ran his name against every current database she had access to: utilities, vehicle registration, court records, state ID records. He'd had a driver's license issued in Jefferson County. The license record was current as of October 2021. After November 2021, nothing. He'd filed no changes of address, no new vehicle registration, no state ID renewal, no court appearances, no utility accounts. He was simply gone, the way a building is simply gone. In February 2022, I tried to access the demolition records for 2285 Meridian Boulevard through the Jefferson County Building Department. Permit DEM 29-0307-112. I'd pulled it twice before. I knew it existed. The building department database returned no records for that permit number. I described the permit to the intake clerk. She searched by address. She said, 2285 Meridian Boulevard, current structure, residential apartment building, 8 stories, assessed value current as of 2021. No demolition records on file for this address. I said, "I accessed a demolition permit for that address last year." She said, "I can only tell you what we have." I said, "Is there any record of a parking garage at that address?" She searched. She said, "No. No commercial parking structure is listed at 2285 Meridian Boulevard in our records." I said, "What is listed at that address?" She said, Residential. The Meridian Apartments. I said, "Is there a management company listed?" She said, "Hargate Residential Services." That's the name on the cover letter that came with the footage. Hargate Residential Services. The same company that managed the building I found demolished, managed a building that the Jefferson County database now shows as standing and occupied. I drove to 2285 Meridian Boulevard for the third time. I stood on the street outside and looked at the parking garage. 3 concrete levels, open sides, about 400 spaces. The entrance sign, Meridian Park Parking, managed by Hargate Residential Services. I took a photograph. I sent it to my own email with the date in the subject line. Then I opened the Jefferson County property database on my phone. 2285 Meridian Boulevard, residential apartment building, 8 stories, current occupancy confirmed, managed by Hargate Residential Services. I am standing in front of a parking garage. The database says I am standing in front of an apartment building. The apartment building was demolished in 2019. Marcus Tillman walked out of it in 2021. A forensic analyst certified that the footage was real. A photograph I did not put in my case file shows the inside of a building. At the moment, it should not have been standing. I kept the photograph. I never submitted it for authentication. I don't know why. Maybe because I was afraid Rourke would call it genuine. Maybe because I was afraid he'd call it something else. Maybe because the moment it went into an official record, it would stop being something I could look at quietly in an envelope and start being something I would have to explain to people who expect explanations. There is a version of this story where I did the right thing, where I submitted the photograph, where I hired a second expert, where I filed something with the court even after the acquittal to put the impossibility on record, where I contacted the Bar Association and described the footage and the demolished building and the camera that had been decommissioned before it recorded the clip. I didn't do any of that. I sealed the envelope and put it in a drawer. 16 years of practice and not one case had made me feel like I was carrying something I shouldn't be carrying. This one did. Right from the moment I watched the footage the first time and thought, this is clean. This is exactly what we need. Before I knew about the building, before I knew about the camera, before I found the photograph. Even then, before I knew anything was wrong, something was wrong. I retired from practice in June 2022. I told colleagues it was time. 16 years is a long run in criminal defense. That's true. It is a long run. But I retired because of a photograph that should not exist, in an envelope in my filing cabinet, showing a building that isn't there. The building was gone, but the camera remembered every detail, including an event that was scheduled for the night it didn't exist. I don't know what Marcus Tillman found. I don't know what Sonia Huff lives in. I don't know how Vincent Rourke authenticated footage from a camera that stopped functioning 3 years before the recording date. I don't know who put a photograph from inside a demolished building into a sealed case file in a locked office. I know the address, 2285 Meridian Boulevard, Louisville, Kentucky. I know the date, October 9th, 2021. I know the time, 9:14 p.m. I know the man walked in. I know the building wasn't there to walk into. I know that 3 databases still show a residential apartment building at 2285 Meridian Boulevard, that the property assessor's record has never been corrected, that Hargate Residential Services appears in both the demolished building's history and the parking garage's current management record. I know that Sonia Huff sent me a photograph of a building she said she lived in, and that photograph showed the correct GPS coordinates, and that the GPS coordinates correspond to a parking garage, and that I have stood in that parking garage and confirmed it with my own eyes. I know that a forensic analyst certified footage from a camera that stopped existing 3 years before the footage was recorded. I know that my client walked free. I know that he thanked me and disappeared. That's everything I know.